Four friends, Jake, Ryan, Emily, and Sarah, were driving home after spending the weekend in some remote cabin deep in the woods. They tried to cross the only isolated highway in the region, referred to as the Lost Road. Even though some locals warned them about some spook stories of people being taken or having weird experiences, they considered it a shortcut and dismissed it as childish superstitions. Darkness covered the night, but thick fog was beginning to fill in the roads with an almost imperceptible vision. For a considerable time now, there had not been another car, and the emptiness outside was becoming awkward. The two only shared whispers of a conversation each sustained to avoid sleeping. Sarah sat at the back feeling worried over something, having commented upon it though friends chided her as paranoid. After about an hour, they saw a faint figure by the road, a woman in white, with wet hair masking her face. She was drenched from the rain, and clothes clung to her like a rag. As he approached it, Jake was slowing down, thinking about offering the woman some aid. But as she drew nearer, she looked up a little and, with very dark, hollow eyes and a wide, unpeaceful smile, vanished without them ever blinking. They felt a little awkward and accelerated in an attempt to make sense of what they had just seen. Tension filled the car, and each of them had an unspoken fear that they brushed aside. The car engine started to sputter, and before they knew it, the vehicle had come to a dead stop in the middle of the road. The car wouldn't even start, even though the tank was full. A cold chill filled the car and a strange whisper seemed to come from all directions. "Stay with me." Friends looked at each other, scared that they might be the only one who could hear the same thing. The headlights flickered a few times, illuminating the road in front of them, and there was the woman in white. She was standing right before the car, her head tilted forward, staring straight into them with dead eyes. Jake became really panicked as he kept on trying to turn back on the car, though it didn't move an inch. The whispers had now become louder, pushing deeper, filling their heads such that they could not think for once. Emily was actually so scared and began weeping. She begged Jake to get them out of the situation. This led Ryan to, in desperation, ask them to step out of the car to be able to give the car a push. Reluctantly, Jake, Ryan, and Emily walked out into the freezing night, nervously looking back over their shoulders. As they walked, the headlights flickered back on, casting dim light on the road. But what they saw froze them in place. The woman now stood inches from Sarah's window, staring directly at her. She seemed to mouth the words, "Stay with me." Sarah screamed, snapping her back out of the trance she seemed to have lured herself into. She sprang back into the car as did the others. Amazingly, the car miraculously roared to life when Jake hit the gas, tearing them down the highway and further lost the woman's figure, dissolving into mist beyond where they could find any kind of escape or asylum except for the distant glow in the distance. It was the city. Weeks after the incident, still tortured by the experience, they shared their story with some locals who knew the highway very well. The locals revealed the story of a woman who had died several years ago in a car crash on that very road. Stranded and helpless, she had spent her final moments waiting for help that never came. And ever since, sojourners along the Lost Road reported seeing her ghost still straining through the dark in search of someone to sit with her. Each of her friends agreed never to utter again any word about that night, but neither ever quite got the smile from her haunt out of mind, or the whispered sentence that had begun to sound in one's head since, "Stay with me."